guys. Welcome back to The Verdict is Black and Neurodiverse. I'm Shayla, the girl's girl, the resident contract lawyer in entertainment and sports girly, here to talk about some stuff going on. And we have my girl.
Hi, Jade here, Black Nerd, Spicy, and Unapologetic. We're going to do like a quick little show tonight. It's going to be focused mostly on AI. We have some litigation topics and some environmental factors that we can look at. And also, we're going to kind of pick up on where we left off last week, discussing the WNBA. And Shayla, you're gonna get us started.
Hey, yeah. So let's just jump right in. So, in the entertainment space, there's a lot of litigation going on surrounding Midjourney, who's like a newer, smaller AI company, and a lot of production companies. So basically, quick story. Basically, users of Midjourney are able to put in these different prompts, and when the prompt comes out, it reads something that looks like the intellectual property that comes from some of these big production companies like Disney, Sony, all of these things. So there's a lot of litigation out right now. And basically, I just want to talk a little bit about it. If people don't know what's going on, just to talk about, the wave of lawsuits and how it could affect AI in the future. So AI isn't just spitting out pretty images and writing scripts anymore. It's spitting out lawsuits. And from a lawyer's perspective, the fight comes down to three words: ownership, copyright, and contracts. So I really have a bad joke. Read it. So we can think of this as Hollywood's remake of The Fast and the Litigants. I didn't even pronounce the word right. Is it litigious or litigious? Whatever.
Oh,
What
it is. Is it strategic?
like Fast and Furious? It was kind of like a little play on the word, but child, whatever. Just think about it as that. So here's what's happening. AI, Midjourney, and other AI platforms are being sued for using copyrights in creative works, scripts, arts, and photography to train their models without permission. So production companies are basically saying, "Wait, hold on now. We spent millions creating this stuff, and now your AI is profiting off it without licensing it or paying us." So, get the coin. So I feel like in just layman's terms, this is basically like your little cousin using your Netflix login. Except then your cousin gonna turn around and charge people $5 a month for using it as well. So basically, that's how we could think of it as like,
Uh-huh.
aren't you cutting me in on it? If you use it, you can use my stuff for free, and now you're charging people to use my stuff. So the legal question here is simple: is training AI on copyrighted work fair use, or is it infringement? There's a lot of different, you know how it goes in the district courts. They're just trying to figure out these answers to the question because it's a unique question because AI is new, right? Uh,
Uh-huh.
but the answer basically is going to determine whether AI companies owe billions or they owe nothing at all. Because I did a CLE last week, and yeah, one company, like, it was already big, like, for getting a unfavorable judgment, one AI company, it was like already like hundreds of billions of dollars that they owe. So of course, I feel like, the thing about it is they probably won't end up paying it, but um just a little thing to think about. And then from a contract lawyer's perspective, it gets a little bit more murky and also fun for me because I'm excited to do that. So there, from a contract law perspective, this is where it gets fun because it's licensing studios are going to start adding clauses, basically saying, no, you can't feed my script to your robot unless you pay me. Ownership: if AI generates half a script, who owns it, right? Is the writer owning it or the production company, the robot? Basically, imagine splitting royalties with a Severac. And lastly, indemnity. So basically, businesses that use AI outputs will want AI companies to cover them if they get sued. That's like, saying if your robot plagiarizes, you're paying the damages, not me. So the battlefield isn't just about copyright; it is also about contract. So it's about who controls the fine print controls of the future. And so let me tell you, the fine print is where us lawyers feast, right? That's what we like. That's what we get our bread and butter in the fine print.
Yeah, I have a question. So in the CLE, are they using this? Like I know Mid Journey is that I use it on Discord. You put in what you want and it spit out whatever the image. But is it similar to like if I do t-shirts and I put like Nike on it and I sell it? Is it that the issue where they're taking like images or copyrighted images from a um Disney or something and just reusing it like that? Or is it they don't even have permission to duplicate it? Or one more question, is it like it's a little small tweak to it that it looks similar but technically it's not? Like what's the
Well,
I,
I guess that is the issue. Kind of like what I said, basically going to like indemnify if people put in a prompt and from the pictures I saw, like basically it's literally spitting out the exact same images of some of these production company things, and then
mhm,
people use it. So one of the questions in the lawsuits are is it fair use, right? The way that they are comparing it is you think of I can get into my next point, but basically like think of like how the radio was regulated, right? At one point there was some litigation long time ago with before when radio stations were airing music, and how it now has become regulated to where radio stations can air the copyrighted music of artists because they have a license to use it. So basically how the regulation is what I'm understanding is that how it'll eventually ended up like, not that they're trying to end AI, but basically they're just using the lawsuit to try to it's actually one of my points, but basically they're using the lawsuit to try to help with regulating it from the perspective of like not getting too out of control. I think that, also if you think of it, so we've seen this movie before. If you remember Napstar, at first, Napster. At first it was chaos and everyone was just downloading stuff for free and
mhm.
lawsuits were flying. And then eventually we got, from that lawsuit, we got iTunes and Spotify and things like that. So just a way to regulate um how they use. I think I could also see like I said earlier, the licensing, where basically studios are going to probably start saying if you are putting this information in, that they're going to probably start charging these AI companies a fee, which probably will, bring up the prices of some of these things where, but, have clauses to say you can't just have my script. You have to pay for a license to put the script in there. Just how like I think also YouTube had, went through that situation where
The
uh
fair.
you know, people playing music, and now we have regulation. So it's really more so about regulating AI because it is new, and a lot of I think now the current administration, of course, has already stated that they don't want to regulate it. So basically, this is us using lawsuits to try to get some regulation on it, so that they aren't just able to do some of those things. Basically, what you said are just some of the examples that could come out of it being
I know they have been doing the taking certain beloved characters,
Mhm.
the users, and doing like some nefarious things with them,
Yeah.
like reproduction. Let's say Mickey smoking a
Yeah.
joint.
And see,
That's
that
what
is
I
a
heard.
situation where courts might say that that's fair use, right? Because it's kind of like a parody situation, right? If they say it's a parody, then that's what a lot of the litigation is about, like fair use, but also that it's also a contract issue, right? Are you will you are you going to pay for licensing to use our information? Because then if you do, if they make them pay for licensing to use it, then of course then it changes how they're allowed to even allowing users to use this information. So I think it's a bunch of different things. So I think that what we should watch for is that more lawsuits piling up, yes, but also studios rewriting their contracts to protect their IPs. For creatives, the fight is about protecting the value. For AI companies, it's about survival. And as a contract lawyer, I'll say this: the winners here won't just be the ones with the best algorithms, it'll be the ones with the best contracts. So, or at least the ones who can read them without falling asleep. I think that it's a lot of interesting. I think it's an uphill battle, but I think it's going to be. I think it's going to just end in, like, settlements and regulation more than just like ending these companies, because specifically with Midjourney, basically they actually do advertise some of this stuff, like, oh, you can get this from this. So basically helping them be better at, for lack of better terms, be better.
Yeah, but and then we can, go. But one thing about Mid Journey, like they don't necessarily have to use licensed imagery. Like when I was designing a tattoo, I wanted to have katanas and like the pitchfork, the sky
Hmm.
in one tattoo. So I put it in Mid Journey and it spit out like my image.
Yeah.
Um, so it's a lot of other ways where Mid Journey can definitely be useful and worth the money without even dibbing and dabbing and like licensing stuff.
And I think productions companies' main thing is like, how are they training their AI system
Hmm.
in spitting out these things? Because like, you saw the pictures, like these things look exact. It's not even, some courts have called it fair use, but I think it's kind of hard to say it's fair use when it looks like the same character that it's spitting out, right?
And they can stop that.
Yeah, and that's, so that's part of what what these lawsuits are also going to be about. I think
It doesn't
right
even have to do
now,
with it.
a lot of the major, like Disney, of course, because Disney has a lot at stake with this. I think Sony might have recently filed a lawsuit as well. But of course, like, I don't think that all of these lawsuits go to full litigation. I think but it does help with like settlements, because it'll be a lot of the type of money that these AI companies would owe would literally end these companies because they're new companies, right?
Yeah, right, right,
So,
right, right.
yeah, but it's interesting to me from the perspective of seeing how this helps to regulate. Disney, Disney basically, I won't say they control copyright, but basically, they do.
Yeah,
uh,
they set the
legislation,
plan.
they have a lot at stake when it comes to copyright law, and I
Mhm.
think that's another question that's coming out of, like, what happens to copyright law in this age. Like, is it something that we need to necessarily have? I think, we value copyright because it helps protect creative freedom, but the other thing about the fair use argument is that not allowing people to use some of these things also limits creative freedom, if they're able to, again, if they consider it a parody, um, and not a market substitute, then that it's a lot of different interesting arguments. I think it's definitely going to be something I'm keeping an eye on as more information in this litigation comes out. But yeah,
Mhm.
so
Well, that's interesting.
one
Yeah.
AI issue to the next AI issue, from the lawsuit to the landfills. If
Yes, yes, yes. So the next issue that I think we probably need to kind of look at and just keep on alert as this industry begins to expand is the AI data centers. Right now, they are building one in Memphis. It's a city along the Mississippi River, southwest Tennessee, and it has caused a lot of uproar, and for good reasons. For one, they are building it in a black area, predominantly black area, and the environmental dangers or harms is how it's going to use a lot of water consumption, and they've already bought in like a bunch of methane gas turbines, and they are permitted to operate right now without air pollution permits. So this particular AI data center has been built fairly quickly because of the current administration's, I guess, leniency on certain regulations. And it is already causing issues in the community. Um, this one particular is the Elon Musk XAI.
Right.
I think Grok, is that the one he has on uh, X
Hmm.
or yeah? It's his investment, his little stuff that he's building. And I know that Memphis, they are doing some organizing around it, trying to get the word out and stop the building, or at least just bring attention to it to try to get some help. However, right now is not really sticking. The issue has not really been raised to me and given the necessary platform that it deserves. Because at the end of the day, it's going to be Memphis that pays the price. And since these centers are fairly new, we really don't know for real the long term damages. Um,
Hmm.
and it can be, I don't want to say like cancer, but who knows? It's just rarely new. But what they do know is actually doing a lot of extraction of water and air pollution. Um, oh, and noise. It's a lot of noise that's been that the community they already have to deal with. So I
Yeah.
don't know how you weigh it, but usually if it's something that's put in like the predominantly black area, just historically, it's not good. So,
Yeah. I definitely saw some stuff about it too, and what has me really disturbed is like, it's like the same song, like, in black communities or minority communities, they do things like build things that they know are harmful. And the main thing, like you said, is that we don't even know the long-term effect. I think I saw some stuff along the lines that some of the residents are already complaining about breathing issues and things like that. I don't know if I'm confusing another one, because I saw another one about an AI thing, and this lady was showing how she had to go and put like catch water. They had to like they can't even use their water because it's like you could see particles collecting in the water that they're using. So, but if it's not in Memphis, it's another place where they have built another AI. So
yeah, South Carolina,
yeah,
Texas.
yeah, I think that's what it was, probably South Carolina. And the thing about it is like it's so new, so we don't even know the long term effects. I think just like you think of, and I don't think I'm all for progressing and being leaders, but also I don't think it should happen at the risk of human life, like that
Mhm.
are so valuable, and that any strides we make in science, there are plenty of places that nobody is in that we could put these places in.
Right.
The across like across the nation, there are literally places where there's nothing there. Why can't these things be placed in places where there is no human life, or even like animal life, for that, not at least where we can move the animals at least, and I don't want nobody to try to cancel for saying this, but like we could shift them out of the area of the harm and more into other areas, because it's so interesting that they continue to do this
In these areas. Yep.
yeah, and again, it's predominantly black areas to me. So I guess definitely, what is one thing that you would want to see happen? Because you did mention that you haven't seen a lot of attention. I've seen the guy, his name is escaping me, but the he's a legislator
Hmm.
uh, with the afro and the glasses.
Yeah,
uh
they were talking about it. Yeah. The
he's one
tennis.
of the people
Yeah.
that I've seen really push
Yeah. About it.
push
Yep.
And but then I also had been seeing the more like I actually saw SZA talk about it also before.
Mm-hmm.
Like why are not more people? Because it's in Memphis, right? Because it's
Because it's
the
in Memphis.
and honestly, if it's in Memphis, Memphis is right by Mississippi. So also, I'm pretty sure some of those people in South Haven are probably also being affected. Uh, and this is like it's disheartening that um for the sake of science, we want to risk human life when if we're not here.
And what's even more, I'm just gonna call it nefarious, is that you don't have to build it in this type of fashion.
Yeah,
Um, with the administration, really legal. What was it, Chevron that was overturned? Um, what was that? I think about two. Was it when Trump was in office last? Yeah, you remember Chevron? Let me look it up real quick. Anyway,
that's so many lawsuits that be happening. Look.
Chevron was the yeah, the Chevron doctrine.
Hmm.
Supreme Court decision Chevron versus that. Anyway, so basically, to me, that's the biggest issue is to when they let the companies decide how they're going to do their own environmental regulations, and it's no longer dictated by the federal government or some type of not related body that's interested in the company making money.
Yeah,
When it used to be like an outside agency to go and regulate these big oil companies and make sure they do the right thing. After that Supreme Court, that case was overturned, it let the businesses decide
yeah,
on their regulation practices. And with that, all this
very
stuff is getting ready to be a mess. Um, so my point is, if we really want to do things to assist and to get rid of environmental injustices, it's going to have to take policy, and we're
right.
going to have to put the onus not on the corporations to handle themselves, because we see what happens. I mean,
They care about the bottom dollar. They don't care. And the other thing that this has been implicated is the Clean Water, Clean Air Act, and that's something that I think this current administration has been talking about. Oh well, we don't even need that act, and I'm like, well, we do. I mean, I live in California, and I think the first year I was here, it rained a lot during the fall or winter month, and I didn't notice until it rained so much how much smog was in the air. And honestly, apparently, what it looks like now is much better than it looked like in the 90s.
mm,
Because of some of the regulation, right? I was on a hike one day, went to Griffith Park, and you actually, when you go to Griffith Park, you could see the smog like sitting on, because you're at a different angle and you could just see it sitting there. So it's like, this is needed, like clean water, clean air, like that, you know that we got to have a right, we got to like say we have a right to clean water, clean air, and that it's important that we have, because like as if you people are not also breathing in the same.
that's the part I don't understand. Like even ignoring Memphis. Let's say you ignore Memphis. You say, oh, Mississippi. Oh, whatever. It doesn't count. As if these harms won't eventually spread to the other parts. Like everybody is experiencing issues from global warming and climate issues. Like that's a collective issue. So I just wish, everybody would kind of take, like, if it's a concern for Memphis, it's a concern for me. Even if I live in Portland, like it's a
Yeah,
concern.
there's
Um,
a reason. more than
Yeah.
Marlon say, an injustice anywhere is a threat everywhere. I
Yes.
think that as a country, maybe if we stop othering people and places, like from Mississippi. So a lot of people love to other Mississippi as like this place where this happens, when we really can just realize that there's injustice that has happened in Mississippi. There's injustice that has happened in California, in
Mhm.
Los Angeles. There's injustice that happens in other countries.
Yes.
So, and if we othering people makes us look at it as if this is something that is in isolation, when there are the injustices that are happening, maybe though even if it's not the same, it's still an injustice and it's a threat to all of us. Everybody, it's a threat to human life. And
Yes.
how do we as humans start to really care about one another, about human life, about like value the life of another human. Whew,
Yes.
start preaching
Yes.
over here.
Exactly. Well, speaking of value, I want to hear about what's going on with our WNBA athletes, and are they receiving their value for their efforts and their ability and entertainment factors and gameplay and their body and their skills. So tell us about what's going on there.
All right. I feel like this is really more so a part two of the convo from last week, because we did discuss that basically what's going on right now is there's kind of a stall in between the WNBA Players Association and also the actual league leadership.
Mm.
Uh, on the leadership side, they've been saying, "Oh, we're going to enter a deal," but the players, like, why would the players be lying and saying that? Okay, this is not, you know, I don't know what they're talking about over there, but they not really doing what they say they're doing. What they say it's not giving what y'all said it was supposed to have gave. That's basically what's going on. So this week though, NECA Agumake, the WNBA PA, I be struggling with that because it's too many letters, ADHD and neurodivergence. Uh,
Right.
she came out and said that negotiations were at an apparent stalemate. And
Oh.
apparent, like when your partner says, apparently the dishes still aren't done. Nah, this is not apparent. It's real. The deadline, as we said, is October 31st. It's approaching fast. It's Jade's birthday. A couple of days before Jade's birthday is my birthday. And it's not looking like the girlies are really trying to negotiate in good faith on the league side. And so, right in the middle, this is right in the middle of the playoffs, which is just started today.
Mhm.
Out to the Aces, good
That's
team
hard.
win. Atlanta won too. You need to go to one of the games.
I need some girl.
Atlanta
Mm-hmm.
really doing it. Sorry, but yeah, but the tension is really real, and it's getting closer to that date, so it's looking like the question is really what are they stuck on, and it's all about how the money flows. I will say the WNBA players did get some support from some interesting players today. This last week it was the let me make sure I get it right, but the 85 members of the Democratic Women Caucus and the House Democratic Caucus signed a letter. Caucus, sorry, because this Southern accent, child, when I saw the thing. Anyways, but 85 members of the Democratic Women's Caucus and the House Democratic Caucus have signed a letter to the WNBA Commissioner Kathy Engelbert, urging the league to bargain in good faith and to reach a fair CBA in a timely manner before the October 31st deadline. So that's really what this is about. That they still, I feel like we talked about momentum being one of the things and who has the momentum. I also, today was the women's soccer league. I think it was their opener, but some of them, they actually wore shirts today saying pay them what you owe them. And the National Women's Soccer League, they themselves they know what it takes to negotiate a fair CBA for themselves. They are I think they're one of the precedents that we're able to look to today of a women's league that as they're growing. And so basically it's time for the league to really pay attention. I think right now what they're trying to say is like, oh, that I'm sorry, getting a little bit off script because I gotta stay on script, you guys, because we if not, I'm gonna be all the way over there. But yeah, so the players are saying as the league grows, their pay should grow with it. And again, they don't basically they don't want to sign a CBA limiting the money today, and then in 5 years the league has grown. Give us give us revenue share. And the league, on the other hand, wants something more fixed, predictable caps and steady increments, kind of like what they already have. And it's really, to me, I think that the league underestimated the power of what happens when people do mobilize for a cause. I think that from a contract law perspective, but basically, let me translate this basically. So the players want a ride on the gravy train, and the league wants them stuck at the local bus stop with the exact change only. And so, from a contract law perspective, this is a classic one side wants flexibility and upside, and the other side wants certainty and control, which is normal from companies, right? They want they want to make the money, they want to get the profit. And so now the other side is blinking. And so the players aren't just sitting quiet. So remember, going back to that, remember All Star Weekend, they rolled out their shirts that said, "Pay us what you owe us," and the crowd didn't just watch; the crowd chanted. And now back to that National Women's Soccer League, they wore comparable shirts with the women's uh, WNBA Players Association logo on it and says, "Pay them what you owe them." I think that it's just beautiful to see just the mobilization of people actually coming out to support um equal pay, which is really what this goes back down to equal pay, right? And again, as this league is growing, there are so many eyes on this conversation. I think after our talk last week, I saw so many people talking about the same things that we were talking about on that podcast episode. So it shows that like the conversation is here, the time is now. And so you can't, you always are not going to work in this new things, and you have more talent coming in, more bigger talent. You have Juju, amazing. uh those shirts are going back on script. The shirts are more than just merch. They are an invoice, they're invoice couture. So fans are chanting louder, pay them louder than my landlord when the rent's my landlord is my friend, and I do pay her on time. So, and that's the thing, though. Those shirts are a negotiation tactic, right? It's what, and the interesting thing is that a lot of people had a lot to say about it, but we still come back to those shirts. Pay us what you owe us. It's public leverage, and I think any person that is good at marketing would tell you that if you getting a message out to get support is really important. So fans, sponsors hear the chants, and suddenly it's not just a private table fight like they've been doing in the past. It's a PR war, and the WNBA can't afford to look like the league that underpays its starter. I mean, sorry, they can't afford to look like the league that underpays its stars when everyone's finally watching, right? So I think it's just beautiful. And here's why I think the momentum is shifting, because we already said that the National Women's Soccer League has already showed that it's possible, right? They have this, they have their have to dive into their CBA changes more in another episode, but they got pensions, they got childcare for their players. They also have a clause that says that teams can't just trade the players without, so a lot of benefits. So they're the precedent, and um, their players got a CBA that runs through 2030 now, and it raises the minimum salary every year and guarantees contracts, free agencies for all players, and even bans trades. What I just said, sorry, back to my script because I had to get back on script, and that's massive. So meanwhile, the WNBA is like the cousin still wanting $20 back from Christmas in 2019 from the auntie that they let borrow it. And so when the WNBA players say we want a revenue share model, we want transparency, we want guarantees, it's not just a fantasy. The National Women's Soccer League just proved that it could be done. Like they recently did this. And honestly, in contract law, precedent is powerful. So precedent in sports is even stronger. And it's like when your friend's partner takes them on a vacation and suddenly your boo wants to look, your friend's partner takes them on a luxury vacation and your boo wants to just go to Cabo and you're like, okay, they just went to Greece and Italy and like backpacking across Europe and you everybody in Cabo, okay? Well, we could go, but hey, that's not romantic. This is, so this is what it's looking like. This is what it's given. So let me lawyer this up for a second, though. But I don't know if you have some questions first. Out, I'm
I
getting
know,
not
yeah, I
yellow.
mean, like it's crazy that the one of the issues is whether they want to that the league wants to play, pay fix, and the players want a percentage.
Yeah,
Uh, it seems like to me the argument should be how much of a percentage.
yeah,
Like, why would you even try to play in somebody's face like that by giving them a fixed amount, knowing that the goal is to increase the revenue every year? So why would you even
because
do
they're trying to say that it's not in the space, but I mean, we've already debunked that the league is
right?
already
It's
playing.
already
And even now, like comparatively to what it cost a couple of years ago to purchase a new team versus what these new teams that are coming, I think that the Aces might have sold for like 5 million a couple of years ago, but
Mhm.
I think the Valkyries had to pay 50 million, upwards of 50 million. Like, so come
Oh,
on, come on,
yeah,
like
don't do them like that.
yeah, exactly. But again, so all the players are saying like, we want not even like we want a percentage, but we want the revenue to grow with the league. As the league is growing, we want to be getting paid more.
More
And
exactly.
basically, so I'm saying the league, it's like the team ownership as well. And I don't think it's all of them. I think that the article I read said at least like 7 teams, but could be all 13. Basically, they want the money for themselves, but the product is out there, and if the product ain't playing, guess what? And if there is, you know, if they say we're not gonna do this because y'all ain't what, yeah, I mean,
How much
my
they make last year?
you said what?
How much they make in revenue last year?
Well, I don't. It's not publicly available.
Really?
Yeah, so that's the thing. That's what another thing what we're talking about. Like that, it's always interesting because they talk about percentages and they're like, oh, they have been in a deficit, but we really don't know. I did see like last year they put out valuations of the team, and I think I've seen recently valuations of teams this year, and of course, like some of them are worth several $100 million, right? And also the comparison that people make with the WNBA and the NBA is also interesting because WNBA is like almost to 30 years, right? The NBA is what 70 plus years, and comparatively, they have grown quicker than the NBA in terms of you know um, growth at this time. But I think that that's just not a fair argument that people try to make. But that again, remember last year that I mean last week, these women make about 9%, whereas in the NBA, I think they make 50% of revenue share. So they're asking for more, and I think you should give them more. Um, and so I do want to lawyer it up for a second and say like in these CBAs, the devil is in the clauses, right? Revenue triggers. Uh, does the do the players does a player pay rise automatically if the league crosses say 200 million in revenue? Transparency. Do players get audited access to the books to see these numbers? Remedies, what will happen if the league doesn't deliver? That's
Wow.
some of the things that basically that's what we're looking at in the CBA terms. Revenue triggers, transparency, remedies. That sounds boring, but trust me, this is where the money lives, and it's like fine print in your iPhone plan. That because we be getting them new iPhones, and then when we go and turn it in, they be like, "Oh yeah, it was free, but it's not really free because we're paying we're actually paying for the phone for you. So if you trade it in, you actually owe us money."
Yep.
That's the fine print, and I am the lawyer that I'm going to read the fine print for you. That's what lawyers should do, and this is what this is about. So except for and again, legally the league is required to bargain in good faith. If they stall, if they posture without real counter offers, they can actually become a labor law issue. And we do have that current case out with Dearica Hamby versus
Oh,
Los
yeah. Oh, it's
Angeles.
still open?
Yeah, they did. The judge did dismiss the league. I didn't really like that. I really think that they were really after the league in terms of like bargaining. I thought that, but again, so no, look, no legislation through litigation right now for that. But
Hmm.
I think, I don't think all hope is lost. Um, so if they don't make any real counter offers, it can become a labor law issue. But short of a court fight, it's all leverage. And who's willing to risk a lockout or a strike? Is the league, especially with the things that they have coming down. Like they have two teams that are slated to be two expansion teams coming this year. But until they get this CBA issue handled, those teams they can't even do the expansion draft. So how long they fight, they have a lot. They stand to lose a lot, and then you also have free agency that can't go on because again, we don't even know the terms of this because they have already opted out of the old CBA. So again, basically those things that I talked about last week, you guys go back and watch that episode, okay? Because we got the tea in the episode about what could possibly happen if if they don't reach an agreement by October 31st. And so, but here's what I think we'll see next: more public action, more shirts, maybe even players using playoff media media scrums to hammer the point. So the league, they want to they want to ride the playoff buzz and expansion excitement without the distraction. But the longer they wait, the more it looks like they're ignoring the stars and the look like sponsors are watching, right? Asia just got a Lego deal. Asia and Nike also, by the way. So I know you love your Legos. Hopefully the Lego, like I will purchase you some Legos, Asia Legos, and but Congress is watching. Apparently, like Congress is watching. Other leagues are watching, and at this point, even your grandma's group chat knows about the WNBA. Better not play games with these players. So the league wants us to focus on playoff and expansion. Players are like, cool, but you can't expand and you can't expect. I'm sorry, you can't expand respect if you don't even pay respect, right?
Right.
So what I say is the momentum is starting to tilt towards the players, which I kind of said it last week that they did have momentum, and then this stuff happened this week. To have Congress come in, the only thing that will be make a difference if it's Beyonce comes in here, and Beyonce will probably, I bet you, Beyonce about to send some flowers to the
Mm-hmm.
because she always send flowers, okay?
She
And she's
will.
always watching. But you know, I think that the question for all of us to watch is: will the league cave before the deadline, or will we see a real labor showdown in women's basketball? Either way, the players already won in the court of public opinion, and honestly, in my lawyer brain, the verdict carries interest, like a compound interest. And the shirts that those players were wearing, "Pay us what you owe us." That's not just a slogan, that's the heartbeat of this whole fight. And with that, that is all she wrote. And pay the girls, okay? That's all.
Okay.
We
And
want we
you know what? Pay the
But
women. Just pay the women because we're still making 82 cents per every dollar that men make.
I don't know how the copyright stuff gonna work. I want to play a song.
Oh, it ain't gonna it ain't gonna yeah, it ain't gonna work.
Okay, I'm still gonna play it though.
Okay. What is it? Fair use? What you went back to your
This I do not. What people, even though it doesn't matter, I do not own or like this song.
I do not own this song. Yeah.
Ready?
Mm-hmm.
Gotta play the video because
What? Can't hear. It's you got it ain't. Are you on the Apple?
uh-uh.
I hear a little bit. Bitch better have my money. Yeah, yeah, I hear what it is.
Rihanna,
Yeah.
have them women's money, okay? That's all we're saying. And
Mm-mm. All righty. Till next time, the verdict is still black and neurodivergent. Jade from here in Atlanta, and that is my girl.
in LA, signing out.
Ta ta.